promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar, 1 o'clock in Abuja. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and worldwide on WADR.org. Welcome to Newslink, and here are the top stories. Nigerian court denies detained IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu bail, orders accelerated hearing.
So we are not stalling. It is the federal government that is stalling. We can take notes. So what is the essence of it? We cannot prepare him adequately. We cannot talk with him. So this is the essence. This is what happened in court today, where justice was turned upside down.
Ahead of Senegal's March 24 presidential election, small business holders speak on expectations from incoming leader.
Product prices have risen at wholesalers, and on top of that, we spend a lot on transporting goods to Dakar. We want prices to come down at all levels.
In Guinea, trial of September 28, 2009 events faces opposition over reclassification proposal. And controversy erupts over Ghana's anti-LGBTQ law as President Akufo-Addo requests Parliament to halt transmission.
The president is the same person who signed the e-levy into law with alacrity, despite the fact that there is still, even as we speak now, a pending case at the Supreme Court.
Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Imo Edit with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining us and a warm welcome to our listeners in the Gambia, Ghana and Liberia. But let's begin in Nigeria, where Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court, Abuja, on Tuesday denied bail to the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. The court, however, ordered an accelerated hearing of the case involving the Mbato IPOB leader who is facing charges bordering on treasonable felony. Kanu, who was brought to the court on Tuesday, has been in the custody of the Department of State Services DSS since his arrest in June 2021. Delivering the ruling, Justice Nyako held that the court would only grant an accelerated hearing in the matter and ordered the prosecution to call it first witness. Counsel for Kanu, lawyer Ejimako, expressed his displeasure over the ruling. He said the IPOB leader's legal team cannot go on with the proceedings if not allowed to speak with his client. Here is Ejimako and Honorable Ikenga Oguchinyere.
So we are not stalling. It is the federal government that is stalling. We can take notes. So what is the essence of it? We cannot prepare him adequately. We cannot talk with him. We whisper. We put our lips to his ear. We talk sotto voce, and so on and so forth. So this is the essence. This is what happened in court today, where justice was turned upside down when our two applications that go to fair hearing were refused. But we are going to bounce back.
I'm calling on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu not to allow the moment to pass him by. That what the president should do is to invoke the powers given to him and the Attorney General in particular under Section 174 C1C of the Constitution to discontinue these charges.
Meanwhile, following the killings of 16 military personnel last Thursday in the Okwama Lok community in Delta State, southern Nigeria, lawmakers in the upper chamber have waded in with a stern call on the government to urgently apprehend and punish those involved. The senators are also calling for the recruitment of more police personnel so that the military would not be dragged into civil matters. WDL's Usman Marin, Abuja, has more in this report.
The tragic incident last Thursday, where 16 soldiers on a mediation mission between two communities were brutally murdered, continues to elicit reactions from various quarters across the country. This time, the response comes from the upper chamber of the National Assembly.
The understaffing of the Nigerian police has made Nigeria's military to take over internal policing duties such as organized crime, oil theft, communal crisis, kidnap, bandit, and other policing responsibilities.
I believe that this Senate and indeed the National Assembly should also be looking at the direction of reducing our military from conducting police actions and activities. How do you do that? I believe we must insist on getting more and more policemen to be recruited.
During the session, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, expressed skepticism regarding the identity of the perpetrators of the heinous act.
I don't think these people are Niger Deltans. We are not at war, even in a period of war, to lose such number of personnel. No community will go to the extent of doing this kind of thing. I don't think they are from Niger Delta. So I think the first point should be that we should first establish the culprits who committed this crime. We must take it seriously.
A proposal to observe a minute of silence in honor of the civilians killed in reprisal attacks, an allegation denied by the military, was met with opposition from the majority of the lawmakers. They cited the lack of established numbers or innocence of the victims at this time as the reason for their rejection. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Omar reporting from Abuja.
We head now to Mali, where the Institute for Economics and Peace has recently released a new global terrorism index, reaffirming Mali's placement among the top 10 countries most impacted by terrorism. The report highlights a notable decrease in fatalities associated with terrorism in the country. As Augustine Cooley reports, this document offers a comprehensive overview of the primary global trends and patterns of terrorism.
According to the report, Mali in 2023 witnessed a decline in deaths attributed to terrorism. The country, it says, experienced 753 fatalities from over 250 terrorist incidents, marking a notable 20% decrease in deaths compared to the previous year. It added that terrorist attacks decreased by 7% during the same period. Mali, it says, appears to be less affected by terrorism compared to neighboring Sahel countries, which recorded a 45% increase in attacks targeting civilians rather than military personnel. However, concerning trends highlighted indicate that terrorism may be spreading to the western provinces of Mali, particularly in the regions of Koulikoro, Kayas, and Ségou. Al-Qaeda's primary affiliate in the Sahel, known as the JNIM, remains a significant terrorist group in Mali. Alarmingly, deaths caused by JNIM more than doubled in 2023. The report also highlights the border shared by Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger as the most heavily affected area by terrorism, accounting for 60% of all attacks. To address this ongoing threat, Mali formed the alliance of Sahel states with Burkina Faso and Niger in September 2023. The alliance aims to boost security measures while also promoting political and economic cooperation among member states.
Augustine Cooley filed that report.
This is the countdown to the Senegal Decides 2024.
Well, let's come back now to Senegal as all is set for the presidential election. Well, among the presidential candidates in Senegal is 65-year-old Mohamed Boun Abdallah Dionne, an economist. The former prime minister and former close associate of outgoing President Macky Sall wants to draw on his experience as a statesman to run for the office. Boun Abdallah Dionne, who does not intend to remain at the head of state for long if he is elected, presents a social program that will go quickly but that will be effective. Well, let's get more of his profile with Ogilvy Erika.
Mohamed Boun Abdallah Dionne is one of the best-known candidates to the Senegalese public, having spent many years at the top of the state. The trained economist presents himself as an experienced statesman. Indeed, Boun Abdallah Dionne first served as chief of staff to outgoing President Macky Sall when he was at the Prime Minister's office from 2005 to 2007. He then rose through the ranks to become President of the National Assembly from 2007 to 2008 before serving as Prime Minister from 2014 to 2019, then Secretary General of the Presidency until 2020. In addition to Senegalese politics, Boun Abdallah Dionne is also experienced in regional and international institutions. First with the Central Bank of West African States, BCAO, in 1997, then as a United Nations official. After holding several senior government posts in Senegal until 2020, Boun Abdallah Dionne temporarily retired from the political scene. He made a comeback in September 2023 to announce his candidacy for the presidential elections, having left the ruling coalition a few weeks earlier. Mahamat Boun Abdallah John, the candidate of the June 2024 coalition, has pledged to serve only one 5-year term if elected. He is presenting a social program that will be fast-moving but effective in all sectors of the nation: education, health, economy, and security.
Islam Brotherhood is the last defense against violent extremism that is taking place in Africa, particularly in West Africa. One single ambition is to protect the nation from the drift of violent extremism, from the drift of everything that is against the republic, from the drift of everything that is against democracy.
Mahamat Boun Abdallah John is more eager than ever to put his experience as a statesman and international civil servant at the service of the Senegalese people.
Now also Gubierica there profiling the economist and presidential candidate Mahamat Boun Abdallah John. Now let's focus on the leader of the Pro-on Senegal Nouveau, meaning for a new Senegal coalition. Mamboy is another dissident in the ruling coalition who wants to succeed Macky Sall. The tax and property inspector was sacked from the general management of the Caisse de Dépôt and the Consignations after voicing his opposition to the choice of Amadou Ba as the presidential party's candidate. It says he is determined to redefine Senegal. Well, here is more with Francis Boniface.
Mamboy Diaw, whose father was an inspector for corporation training and whose mother was a school teacher, obtained his baccalaureate in 1991 from the Lycée Alpha Mole Balde in Kolda. After obtaining his first university diploma, he attended the Gaston Berger University in Saint Louis, where he obtained a master's degree in political science with a major in international relations. In 1998, he passed the highly selective entrance exams to ENA, the National School of Administration, where he graduated as a tax and domain inspector. Mamboy began his career as an inspector at the Dakar Plateau Tax Service Center from 2000 to 2005. He was then promoted to the head of the Fatigue Tax Services Center from 2005 to 2011, and from 2011 to 2014 served as the head of the Parcelles Assainies Tax Service Center. The current mayor of Kolda in the south of Senegal followed a series of promotions to become Director of Estates in 2019 after Macky Sall's re-election. Now aspiring for the presidency, Mamboy Diaw promises a new Senegal once elected.
Je me tiens devant vous, non pas simplement comme un candidat à la présidence, mais comme un Sénégalais profondément...
I stand before you not only as a candidate for the presidency, but as a Senegalese deeply invested in our common future. Youth, which is both our present and our future, deserve educational and professional opportunities that correspond to the challenges of the 21st century. We must reform our educational system so that it promotes innovation, entrepreneurship, and civil education. Artisans, farmers, and fishermen are the pillars of our economic vision and identity. I commit to implementing targeted policies to support this sector.
Determined to redefine Senegal, Mamboy Diaw puts women at the heart of his program.
Une vision politique moderne de la femme sénégalaise doit reposer sur des valeurs universelles.
A modern political vision of the Senegalese woman must be based on universal values of gender equality and individual emancipation. It is our duty to guarantee women equitable access to education, health, employment, and the political sphere. Promoting cultural diversity and sport are also tools to stimulate our economy. I invite you to join me in this collective adventure to build a resilient, united, strong, and conquering Senegal capable of facing the challenges of the 21st century with courage and ingenuity.
At the end of November 2023, the mayor of Kolda published a 268-page book entitled Le Sénégal qui vient, the Senegal that's coming, setting out his vision for Senegal.
That was Francis Boniface profiling the presidential candidate Mamboy Diaw. Well, from profiling, let's talk about what the electorates want. The campaign for the election scheduled for March 24 in Senegal is in full swing and the final week. With 19 candidates vying for the presidency, they are actively traversing the country to garner support from the Senegalese populace. Notably, actors within the informal sector are playing a significant role in the platforms of various candidates. But what are their sentiments towards this crucial election? What are the expectations from the incoming president in terms of enhancing their living and working conditions? Well, let's hear more in this report with David Vincent.
In this month of Ramadan, despite the fairly high temperatures, traders at Dakar's Castle Market are bustling with activity. The narrowness of the space, coupled with the bustling crowd, is making navigation increasingly challenging. When questioned about the programs of various candidates, many shopkeepers lament the high cost of living in Senegal. Sitting outside his shop, Alignan highlights the challenges faced in his sector.
Product prices have risen at wholesalers, and on top of that, we spend a lot on transporting goods to Dakar. So on the market, we also have to sell at high prices, and it is often difficult for customers to buy. We want prices to come down at all levels. At the moment, all consumer goods have gone up in price: rice, oil, everything, not forgetting electricity.
Mariama Diop, a vegetable seller at Castor, urges the elected president to address the issues facing the country's informal sector, which significantly contributes to the economy.
Now it's good for infrastructure. My only wish is for the cost of living and the development of our activities. We need to do something to bring prices down. At the moment, a kilo of pepper costs 3,000 CFA francs, and that is very difficult for us.
According to the National Agency of Statistics and Demography, the informal sector plays a crucial role in Senegal's economy. However, it is not adequately addressed in the programs of the various candidates, laments Suleiman Keita, a Senegalese economist.
In any case, what I see is not an integration of importance, because people are placing much more emphasis on resource mobilization policies, on technical and financial patterns, on agriculture and livestock farming. But for the moment, the informal sector as a major economic entity is not being properly addressed in the program I saw first.
With just days left before the end of the election campaign, candidates are making their final appeals to win over as many Senegalese as possible. Traders in Dakar's Castor Market are closely monitoring the electoral process and have high expectations for the future president of Senegal.
That was David Vincent with that report. Well, let's head now to Guinea, where the trial concerning the events of September 28, 2009 continues, with lawyers presenting their arguments. The defendant's counsel opposes the reclassification of the facts as requested by the public prosecutor and the civil party's lawyers. They assert that granting the prosecution's request would necessitate restarting the trial entirely, incurring significant expenses for the Guinean government as they consider boycotting the remainder of the trial. The defense counsel Paul Yomba Kuruma asserts that the public prosecutor lacks sufficient evidence to incriminate their client. Despite the disagreement, all defense lawyers have stated their intention not to boycott the remainder of the trial if the court successfully reclassifies the fact that implicate their clients in this case. You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Nigerian court denies detaining IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu bail, orders accelerated hearing. Ahead of Senegal's March 24 presidential election, small business holders speak on expectations from incoming leader. In Guinea, trial on September 28, 2009 event faces opposition over reclassification proposal. And still ahead in the news, controversy erupts over Ghana's anti-LGBTQ law as President Akufo-Addo requests Parliament to hold transmission. We do have the newspaper review, a guest interview, and sports update. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
We are streaming live on WADR.org, YouTube, and Facebook. Now, advocates for Ghana's recently passed Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill have described President Nana Akufo-Addo's letter to Parliament requesting the House to cease transmitting the bill to his office as a subversion of the will of Ghanaians. In a letter dated 18th March and addressed to the Clerk of Parliament, a secretary to the President, Nana Bediato Asante, alluded to two pending applications at the Supreme Court as the reason behind his decision. From Accra, WDL's Nadide Tete report.
The Member of Parliament for Tamale North, a key advocate of the law, accused the President of flagrantly disregarding the Constitution following the issuance of the letter. Alassane Suhini contends the President's actions are disingenuous.
The President is the same person who signed the e-levy into law with alacrity, despite the fact that there is still, even as we speak now, a pending case at the Supreme Court to interpret the processes leading up to the passage of that law.
Edem Senanu, chairman of Advocates for Christ Ghana, asserts that the President is contradicting the will of the people.
It is not for the President to say, I can, I won't, or for another arm or branch of government to kick against it. So it's glaring if the will of the people is clear, and yet you have a minority who are bent on trying to find ways around it. We'll live to see what happens. I feel sad. I feel sad for anyone who's in government and is associated if they're not paying attention to the ramifications of what is going on.
Professor Ransford Jampo, a political science lecturer at the University of Ghana, critiqued the contents of the President's letter as a display of deliberate ignorance. He noted that the President's disregard for the will of the people should not go unnoticed.
Saying there are feuds in the courts, and so the presidency must not work on this particular bill view is a sheer display of conscious ignorance. So for me, it's just about shifting goalpost and an attempting to stampede the general will of the good people of Ghana. And I've said that whoever has benefited from a favor of Ghanaians by being asked to lead a whichever regime, if they decide to undermine the voice of the people on an issue that they have been heard loudly and clearly on, then they must face some consequences from the ultimate repository of the fiduciary power that people have been asked to exercise.
For WADR, Nadide Tete, Accra.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
We head now to Banjul as we join Sankle Janko for the newspaper review.
Hello there. It is another Wednesday, and welcome to this edition of the Press Review. I am Sankule Janko, and let's begin today's Press Review with the Fourier newspaper, whose lead story reads, Back Revenue Collector admits not banking monies collected for nearly 1 year. And back is Brikama Area Council. National Human Rights Commission chairperson says empowering women, girls should be the debate, not FGM. That is, of course, these were the words of Emmanuel D. Juve, who is the chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission of the Gambia. Who feels it, knows it. FGM survivor says that is famous anti-FGM campaigner Jaha Dukure. GRA asked Senegalese customs to intercept alcohol smugglers at border. This one reads, Westfield murder suspect request more time to get lawyer. Let's move on to the Point newspaper for today. The Point newspaper's lead story has to do with events happening in the neighboring Senegal, and it reads, Macky writes of Senegal media tax arrears, with a photo of President Macky Sall sitting in the midst of a lot of people. Not sure whether they are media personnel or not, but the story says that the outgoing Senegalese president Macky Sall decided to write off the Senegalese media tax arrears. This one reads, alcohol smuggling into Gambia worries GRA, that is Gambia Revenue Authority. Barrow hails UNICEF for supporting development agenda. And this one reads, EFSTH grapples with dozens of unidentified bodies. FSTS is the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, the biggest referral hospital in the Gambia. Now, let's move on to the final newspaper for today, and that is the Standard newspaper. And the lead story on the Standard newspaper reads, report claims Jammeh's cattle sold $2.4 million below valuation. That's the lead story on the Standard newspaper with the photo of former President Yahya Jammeh. Body of Sierra Leonean exhumed from Sukuta grave. National consensus to be held in May, June. That's another story on the Standard newspaper. Witness implicates late deputy manager of Global Fund in fraud trial. I'm afraid these are the major stories making headlines on Gambian dailies. It's back to you in the studio.
Many thanks, Uncle Tanko, with the newspaper review.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest interview will focus on Nigeria and the prevailing security situation. The increase in kidnapping and banditry activities has been generating diverse experts' views, including that of Dr. Edin and also a security consultant. Speaking with WADR, Dr. Otoro noted that the Nigerian military has the wherewithal to solve the challenges of insecurity bedeviling in the nation.
The National Security Officer is part of the war room with the president. In fact, advising more on logistics. We need this kind of assets to prosecute this assignment. We need this number of men. We need things to be moved around. It's as simple as that. But, in Nigeria, when somebody tells you, because they know that maybe the National Security Advisor was not there for about 8 years.
But how long can it take the military to really not just rescue these kidnapped victims, but also bring the cases of insecurity to the barest level?
If there's a clear operational objectives, we want, for instance, let's take the recent Kaduna abduction. We're not talking about the abduction in Borno. Yeah. We're only talking about the Kaduna one now because they are mostly children. The Borno one, there are whether 60 women or whatever. And that must have taken them for wives or whatever they normally do. Nobody's talking about that. But let me tell you, what will it take? Kaduna is headquarters of the one DIF headquarters. That you just take it as an operational objective. Wherever these guys are, from Kaduna to Beningwari to Zambara, and then get into Bida area of Niger State, come down to Suleja area. Man, we have enough men to surround those areas as long as it would take. And then get these guys into a circle and take out those children and eliminate them. We make this thing look as a very big thing. Like I've said, if the objective is we want to end this mess in 1 week, how many days did it take them to trade? Some of the children that ran back have said, where they are now is long, but before we're seeing Air Force plane, do you need to use, you can use helicopters to try to make some locations, but mostly they are like we talk about drones, Google services can help you because they are still telephoning the families of these people.
Dr. Edin Osoro is a security consultant. And in sport update, host Ghana will face Uganda in the male football final in the ongoing Africa Games in Accra. Uganda's fairy tale in the competition, having beaten both Senegal and Nigeria on the road. Uganda secured qualification to the final after coming from behind to beat Congo 4-2 in the semi-final. Meanwhile, host Ghana defeated Senegal 1-0 in the other semi-final to reach the final, while Ghana and Uganda will battle for the ultimate gold medal in the final over the weekend. Ghana last played Uganda 46 years ago when the two played in the final of the Africa Cup of Nations in Ghana. And we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink from West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Maudoju for the technical assistance. Let's keep the conversation going on all of our social media platforms, X, Twitter, Instagram, at WDR News. I am Imo Edet. Good afternoon.